Hey guys, Mrs. Banky here. I am preparing to get you ready for a periodic table activity. In order to do this activity, you must have gotten a copy of the blank periodic table, and that periodic table looks like this. So if you haven't gotten a copy of that, please go grab a copy of that now and pause this presentation so that you can get started. What we're going to do today is color the periodic table and label some things. And you're going to be able to use these things on any sort of quiz or test that we have in the future. It is very, very, very important that you not write anything on this periodic table that you haven't been given permission to write. All right, so if you write anything that you have not been given permission to write, I'm going to consider you a cheater, pumpkin eater, and that is not a good title to have, okay? So please do not write anything on here that you are not told to write. Alrighty, well, so let's get started. The first thing on the periodic table that I want you to distinguish are the metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. If you look at most of the elements on the periodic table are metals. A handful, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are metalloids. You see, I was just looking up that way. I'm looking at the periodic table in my room right now, just making sure that the metalloids listed here are the same as the periodic table of elements from the National Guard, and they indeed are. The reason I say that is because sometimes they will include polonium as a metalloid, and sometimes they will not include astatine. Okay, so what I need you to do is I need you to choose two colors. I want the color yellow on here to be represented as just white. So I just want you to leave that white on your periodic table. I want you to color the metalloids very, very lightly, a specific color, and then make a little key. Now, I encourage you to make the key down, I'm hoping that you're able to see this, down here somewhere, because there are some things that I might have you write up here. All right, so making the key down here. So choose a color for nonmetals, which you see includes hydrogen. Now please note on the periodic table that I've given you, hydrogen is indeed in two different places. And this is okay. Don't fret. It's going to be okay. I will give you a very excellent reason why that is in a future lesson. It's pretty exciting stuff. So choose a color to very, very lightly color in the nonmetals, the metalloids, and leave the metals white. Okay? So once you've done that, you can move on to the next part of the lesson. Okay, so I am guessing that you have finished this part of the lesson and you've paused appropriately. So let's go on to the next part. The next thing that I want you to indicate on your periodic table are the solids, liquids, and gases. We have two elements only that are liquids at room temperature. One of them is mercury, historically used in mercury thermometers and barometers, and the other is bromine. Mercury is a metal, and bromine is a nonmetal. It is a foul-smelling red liquid. So I want you to somehow indicate on your periodic table that we have gases, hydrogen, helium, I was about to say argonium. That's weird. That's not even real. So we have hydrogen. Remember, you have hydrogen in two spots, so distinguish it in both. Nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon are our gases. We have 2 liquids, mercury and bromine, and everything else is a solid. So I know that you have chosen a very, very light color to make your nonmetals. And now what you need to do is somehow superimpose these. You may not want it to be a color. Perhaps you want to just use choose a red outline, and you can outline each of these, indicating that these are gases. However you can distinguish, unfortunately, on top of the fact that you called these nonmetals gases, and then this nonmetal bromine is also going to have to go over that color, as will the hydrogen. However, this liquid will just be going over white, so not such a big deal. All right, so once you have made that decision and you have gotten a new sheet of paper because you're not happy with the other one and started over fresh, which is okay, not a big deal. I want you to be happy with your periodic table. This is something you're going to be using for the rest of the year, so it's really important that you're happy with it. So if you're not happy with it, go grab a new one. Start this puppy over. If you're happy with it, then go on and move to the next thing. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to label chemical families. Now, I found this online and I have a little bit of a problem with it. So let me just fix this problem. This first column here, not including hydrogen, is the alkali metals. So this is a group 1 element. It is a family, and it is an alkali metal. You'll notice on the periodic table that the groups go up and down, and the periods go from left to right. It is not that obvious on the periodic table that I've given you, because you have the group written horizontally and the period written vertically. But please remember, I hope that you can see this from the screen, that groups go up and down and the periods go from left to right. So this group right here is called the alkali metals. The second group, group 2, is called the alkaline earth metals. So what we should do to make this a little more complete is write alkaline. All right, the alkaline earth metals. Your transition metals are already labeled on the periodic table, so you'll see that. Your halogens are this group 17 column here, and then your noble gases on the periodic table are already labeled, so you can use that as a label. What I might encourage you to do is write it above each thing. Alkaline earth metals. So we have a couple more to label here, and they're not labeled. This group right here, oh, I'm sorry, that is so sloppy. These are called the lanthanides, and this group are called, I grew up in Lena, so when the poor grammar comes out, I'll blame it on that. So this group is called the lanthanides, and I'll just write it up here. LANTHANIDES. Again, it is boom, that group. And then beneath it is the actinides. ACTINIDES. I know it appears that a kindergarten is writing here, but that's okay. So actinides are boom in that spot. So one thing that you'll notice is different about this periodic table and yours is on the periodic table I gave you, it does not have lanthanum and actinium in this spot right here, and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. This group of elements down at the bottom, I sure hope you can see what I'm doing in this screen, actually fits right in here, and we don't have papers that are wide enough to have it actually fit in there, so we just slide it down. Now sometimes you see the lanthanum and actinum included here, and sometimes it stays up there. So have no worries, don't fret. All right, each of these families have some unique characteristics, and we will learn about them more in the future. All righty. The next thing that you need to know is that we have some elements on the periodic table that are called diatomic. And they include hydrogen, oxygen, fluorine, bromine, iodine, nitrogen, and chlorine. So a way that you can remember is this famous chemist, Dr. HOFBrINCl. Hydrogen, oxygen, fluorine, bromine, iodine, nitrogen, chlorine. To get it? All right. So if you're ever writing the formula for hydrogen, just hydrogen all by itself, not part of any compound, just the element hydrogen, you would write H2. Oxygen is O2, fluorine is F2, bromine is Br2, iodine is I2, nitrogen is N2, and chlorine is, like all of the others, Cl2. Well, it's the only one with Cl. Now let me teach you something else kind of fun. Diatomic elements, I wonder if I can write this here. Maybe not, maybe. No. Sorry, this is, oh goodness, I'm trying to, oh, I was writing with the eraser. Okay, this is weird. I'm going to come back to this slide and reactivate the pen so I don't have all of that stuff there. All right. Diatomic elements are genuine. Or genuine. Okay, look at their names. They end in gen, gin, 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 or ene, fluorine, bromine, iodine, or iodine, and chlorine. Okay, if your element ends in gen or ine, it is going to be diatomic, and when you write its formula, it should be a little H2. There are also a couple of other elements that exist as polyatomic elements. One includes sulfur. Oh, let me have my pen again. Sulfur, the formula for sulfur is S8. If I ask you to write the formula for sulfur, you would write S8. S8, okay? And this is the way it exists as a sulfur molecule in rings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It can also occur in rings of 6, but rings of 8 is more common. This is phosphorus. Phosphorus is P4. If you're writing the formula for phosphorus, you would write P4. Each of the 4 phosphorus atoms are connected to each other like this. Now, there is another form of oxygen, and notice here, I say that it's a rare form of oxygen, but it's not that really rare because this is what makes up our ozone layer. However, it's pretty rare at the Earth's surface, and this is not the most common way for oxygen to exist. It is one of the emissions that do come out of the exhaust from your vehicles and can cause Peter is calling me right now. What a distraction. I'm really sorry. I can't answer it right now. But ozone can come out as a pollutant at the surface of the Earth where it can be a respiratory irritant. However, this ozone layer is collecting or is above our Earth. So the ozone layer is a protective layer above the surface of our Earth that protects us. Uh-oh. I lost my picture. It protects us from ultraviolet radiation. And we will learn more about ozone layer later. My lips are saying the wrong words and not saying things quite right. All right. Now, what I'm going to allow you to do is for these elements, I'm going to allow you to place them, to write them on your periodic table, and I strongly encourage you to write them kind of in order like this, because this is how they're situated on the periodic table. Now look at this fun little bit. So remember that on the periodic table I gave you, you do have hydrogen above your fluorine. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 diatomic elements that I talked about. This is going to ruin my surprise. I will rarely ever talk about astatine, so let's just not think about it. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 diatomic elements that we've talked about. Watch this. It makes a 7 on the periodic table. It might not be perfect, but it is what it is. Also, sitting right up nestled here in this number 7 is sulfur with its formula S8 and phosphorus with its formula P4. That is the end of my presentation. So I hope that you have your periodic table all nice and labeled. Again, if you screwed up, you're not happy with it, grab a new one. I always make extra copies. Or make 2 if that makes you happy. You could take one to have at home and one to have here. Whatever you like. I am to please. So I hope that this activity went well for you. And I hope it was maybe a somewhat of a good time. Okay, good time, maybe a little bit of a good time. If anything, you got to see me in my superhero outfit. I don't know what superhero this is. I have no idea what superhero this is. I got this mask at a Goodwill in Sheboygan this summer. So, it's night for me. I'm going to say have a good night. Good night.